One of the aspects I do when it involves the storytelling is children. I'll go out to the area schools and communities, and the sizes vary. I might have anywhere between 45 to 55 in a classroom. Sometimes they might have 500 kids staring at me at a gym. The higher the number, the more energized I get. So what I normally do when I do storytelling is I'll pull the children out, and I'll pick one kid out. He can be the bear. Usually I pick the smallest kid to be the bear, and I'll pick the biggest guy out there to be a chipmunk and pull him out there. The people, and especially the kids, will be laughing about that aspect because there's a juxtaposition of sizes. Everybody's expecting the bear to be huge and big and mean, and I got this little bitty kid standing there right beside me. But when I'm out there and they're pantomiming with me, they get to be the bear, wolf, deer, panther. Sometimes when I'm asking them to come out there, the kids are getting excited. They're waving, me, pick me, and I'll grab one, pull them out. What they don't know is every once in a while the stories involve the people, the Cherokees themselves. And sometimes it involves love. And sometimes when it does that, the little kids get embarrassed because then they have to tell their teacher or some other girl, I love you. And they're sitting there and their faces turning bright red. And they're trying to hide. But one of the stories not necessarily involves love, but essentially explains how we got our pottery. A long time ago, there was this girl, and she was taking care of her grandparents, taking care of her elders. And that's one of the aspects we make sure we teach the children. You take care of your elders because they took care of you when you were little. And the same thing will happen as you pass on. But I'm sitting there, I'm talking about this story, and these kids are wanting to come up there and jump up there and be with me. And I pull 3 of them out there, and it starts out like this. At one time, there were three warriors for the Cherokee Nation. Big, huge, handsome warrior men who are walking along. And these warriors are coming to town. What they would do is they would come to town, and they would make sure everything was being done in that town. The women were being taken care of, the children were being seen to, elders were being respected. And as they made their way from town to town, the women were trying to get the warriors' attention, but they were too busy making sure all the towns, because they're going across this vast area, that everything was done well. So they didn't have time to look for a wife until one day they see this vision of beauty. This girl's walking by. She's got a tightly woven basket. She's carrying it to the creek. She dips it in the creek, and then she rushes all the way back home to pour the basket of water into this huge gourd. As she's doing this for her grandma and grandpa, she's losing water as she's running. The warriors are sitting there trying to get her attention, but they can't. They wave at her. They're trying to talk to her. She's too busy with what she's doing. So they come up with a plan. The first warrior comes up there and starts to sit down and starts to sing a love song to this girl. She don't have anything to do with him, just keeps on walking by. The second warrior comes up there. He starts to go show his dancing moves. He dances as well as he can in front of the girl. She don't have anything to do with him. She just keeps on walking on by. The last warrior comes up, tries to show how strong he is, his muscles and everything. Again, she doesn't care. She just walks on by and keeps on going. While they're sitting there trying to figure out how to get her attention, this mud dauber comes and lands and looks at them and says, "What are you doing?" So I thought you were hurt. You're sitting on the ground. You're singing this song, and I thought you were in pain. And the warrior says, "I'm trying to sing to that girl." And then the mud dauber looked at the next warrior and says, "I thought you were trying to help him, try to heal him with your dancing around him as he's laying there in pain." He says, "I was dancing for that girl, trying to get her attention." Then the mud dauber looks at the last guy and says, "I don't know what in the world you were doing. You're showing muscles. I don't want to see muscles if I'm sick." And the warriors, they're all saying, "We're trying to get that girl's attention." So the mud dauber watches as she comes walking by again, gets some water and heads on out. And the mud dauber says, "Well, she is beautiful. I'll give you that. I'll tell you what, I'll get her attention. I'll get her to look at me. I'll get her to talk to me. I'll get her to chase me." And the warrior says, "You're just a bug. How are you going to be able to do this?" And the warrior is sitting there watching it, and the mud dauber says, "You watch and you learn. You take some notes if you want to." So the little mud dauber flies over there in front of that girl, and she's coming back down the hill, carrying her little basket. And then the mud dauber does this, and goes right in front of her face. She starts swinging at the mud dauber, trying to get him away. As she's swinging, the warriors are watching this, and the warriors say, "Hey, she's waving at him. She said hello." And then the mud dauber talks to him and says, "Now I'll get her to speak to me." As the girl gets her water and starts to make her way back up to the hill, the mud dauber flies straight up above her and then drops right down the front of her shirt. She screams. It says, "Get out of my shirt. Get out of my clothes." And the mud dauber comes crawling on out and looks at her and starts laughing. And she says, "Don't you ever do that again. I'll take a stick and I'll knock you out." And the mud dauber says, "Take your best shot." So she reaches down and grabs a stick and starts to chase after that mud dauber. The warriors are watching as she's sitting there yelling at the mud dauber, and they're saying, "Hey, look, she's talking to him." And so she's sitting there swinging as hard as she can to try to hit that mud dauber. The mud dauber's ducking and dodging. She finally gets frustrated, throws a stick and misses him. She reaches down, looks around, and finds the mud dauber's house sitting on a tree, grabs it, pulls it off, says, "I've got your house. I'm going to burn your house." And the mud dauber says, "Go ahead." So he throws it in his big fire pit, sets fire going all around that mud dauber's house and says, "There, your house is burnt up. What do you think of that?" The little mud dauber comes flying up to her and says, "I'll just make another one tomorrow." And so she gets disgusted and rushes off home. The mud dauber goes and lands by the warriors and says, "Did you see all of that? That's how it's done. She talked to me. She waved at me. She chased me. She is so in love with me, she went home and told Mom and Dad, we're going to get married." And then the mud dauber flies off. The warriors go off disgusted. The girl comes back the next day, looking around up in the sky trying to find that mud dauber, and says, "I can't believe that mud dauber flew down my shirt. Who does he think he is? I hope his house burnt up." Digs around inside those ashes, and when she rolls those ashes out, she rolls out the mud dauber's house. She looks at it. She picks it up and says, "This is hard like a rock." And then she gets an idea. She goes and she gathers mud dauber's clay, and she makes the very first Cherokee pot. And she waits till it dries like that mud dauber's house, takes it, fires it. Then the next day she's able to take this large pot, dip it in the creek, take it back home, and take care of her elders like she's supposed to.